This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where best friends recap romance novels while firmly standing Talia Hibbert and staying connected. Happy Monday, HBs! We're about to recap the first book in one of my favorite series. But before we do that, there's bonus stuff happening. This Friday, December 13th at 8 p.m., we're having our Patreon holiday watch party. We've decided on our little secret because the combination of Lindsay Lohan and Kristen Chenoweth was just too hard to refuse. And on the bonus episode feed, I'm giving Sabrina a quickie on Black Sheep by Brynn Weaver. It's a little serial killer romance. And then she tells me a little bit about the Haunting Adeline prequel, Satan's Affair. I know it's a little off holiday theme, but my extracurricular reading in particular has been lots of dark romance lately, so yay! Today, we're recapping the first book in the Brown Sisters series, Get a Life, Chloe Brown, by Talia Hibbert. You're about to hear a lot of swooning. Here we go. Oh my gosh. Hello, Sabrina.
Hello, Melody.
Do we know how to do this?
I don't know. When's the last time we recorded one-on-one for a public episode? I mean, it's been a minute.
It's been since before your trip.
I know it has. Actually, I was just about to tell you, Melody. So I don't know if you remember how I was giving characters in that Susie and Brockman book shit about MapQuest.
Yeah, you were like, they had to print out a map.
Yeah, they had to print out directions and they had to like fax, and there was all these you know how like you like eat your words and it's always very apropos, right? It's like
it's always immediate
timing.
too.
It's immediate. Yeah, no, yeah, I feel that because I don't think I like GPS. I'm done with GPS. I don't like a GPS.
Oh my gosh. You're done with the fancy sky computers?
I think for like short term, like short trips where it's like in town, I need like step-by-step directions. Cool. Awesome. I recently drove to Lafayette.
Yeah. That's a cool hour and a half, right?
Try 5 hours.
Oh my God.
And I've made that drive so much that I don't need GPS, right? Like, it's not like it's a lot of turns. Well, this time around, for the first time in 7 years, I didn't turn on my GPS, and I've always dreaded that drive. I hate that drive. I fucking hate that drive. It takes forever, and I realized that it's because I don't know if I feel judged. I don't know if it's the competitive part of me staring at my GPS that's like, I can take off like a minute or two. I can get there faster than that. Like, no, this time around, I didn't have GPS on. I just turned on music and I just cruised, and all of a sudden I was there.
That's lovely.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a 5-hour drive. It's just like, oh, hey, I kind of have to pee. I know roughly where I am. I probably have about 2.5 hours left. Hey, this is fine, whatever. And then all of a sudden I was there, and I was like, this is a game changer. And now I'm just thinking back on all of the times I've made like 10-hour drives, and the whole time I was like, oh my God, it felt like such a slog.
Uh-huh.
Because you're staring at it, it's like, okay, 159 miles straight until you veer off onto this next thing that's like 190 miles, and then you just like watch it tick down. It's like, all right, 186 miles until your next turn. 184 miles.
So for completely different reasons, you are now a Redford. You're done with the fancy sky computer. You're not into it.
I am a Redford. Yeah. Like, if I need to get around town, like someplace that I don't know where I am, then okay. If I'm going to someplace for the first time, I don't know how to get there, that's fine. But I think that long drives from here on out, like, unless I have to turn on my GPS to, like, go around Houston or some shit, like, I'm out. Next time I drive to Chicago, get fucked, GPS.
Oh, that stresses me out quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because what if Miss Turn don't know for 300 miles, you know? Like, I can foresee that happening to me hard. And so the level of anxiety that creates, because I often think, like, I am pretty sure I know where I'm going. And then as soon as I get to the decision, I second guess myself really hard. If it was like a drive I know by heart, no problem. But if it's a long
little
drive that I sort of quasi know, then I'm probably going to keep the GPS on.
I think it'll be different. I don't know. We'll see on certain long drives.
I often turn it off in between. If it says like 150 miles, I'm like, cool, turn off the GPS for a while. Because I don't want it coming into my audiobook being like, you know, keep to the left of Blurty Schmur. And I'm like, I know I have to stay on I-80 for a really long time. Like, I know how to stay on I-80 with other shit branching off. That's not a problem.
You haven't turned off all sound as far as your GPS is concerned? My GPS doesn't talk, period. It doesn't matter.
No, my GPS talks to me.
No, I turn that shit off immediately. I fucking hate that thing.
I don't know how it's meant to get my attention otherwise.
Oh, I guess not everybody like obsessively stalks their GPS the way that I do. Literally, the GPS, there's no way the GPS could let me know something that I don't already know intimately based on my obsessive
Incredible.
Of my own GPS.
Yeah, unless the whole screen were to like start flashing in bright red and it was within my eyesight, there's no way the GPS would get my attention.
Yeah, I guess that's one of our differences. You're like, you don't exist until you say something to me, and I'm like,
my earballs.
You unfortunately exist even when you're not even there. I'm gonna obsessively look to you for help and guidance, even though 1, I don't need it, and 2, you're not even on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm a MapQuest bitch now.
Wow, MapQuestrian, I think is how they refer to that, or at least I do.
I don't like that.
Is that too close to equestrian for your taste?
That's exactly what just happened. My brain was like, that sounds like equestrian. Burn it. No hatred to equestrians. If you like equine stuff, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
My God.
Okay, Sabrina, we have some beautiful illustrious, fantastic Patreon supporters that we are gonna shout out before we get to Red and Chloe.
I'm impressed
because
that you remember this
need
time around.
to talk about Red and Chloe forever, I think. So we need to put a lot of time on the docket. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also have one quick question just to call you out a little bit now that we're intimately aware of things.
What?
Are you the reason that we have audiobooks out for the rest of the series?
Oh, yeah.
Have you already listened to them?
Not yet.
I was in there and I was looking and I was like, interesting.
Where'd
these come from?
Yeah, because I've read them, but I haven't earball read them. So I want to earball read them now.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Hey, thank you to everybody who's part of the Patreon community. We are so excited. Later on this month, we're going to do our Christmas watch party. So that's pretty exciting. And it may or may not feature the one and only Lindsay Lohan. We're not sure. We're not making promises, but it might.
I mean, it might.
So, hey, thanks and welcome to Jessica S. and Madison W.
To Taylor S. and Carrie N.
Jamie and Jennifer O.
Lainey G. and JT.
Will and Laura.
Sarah L. and Martina M. Thank you. Welcome. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for being part of the Patreon.
And now we're hopping right into Chloe Brown. Holy fuck. I forgot how much I fucking love this book.
Same.
And just Talia Hibbert in general. It's been a while since I read a Talia Hibbert. And
yeah,
it is just her voice.
Top to bottom, so good. So goddamn witty.
Oh
and
my God.
I have had the absolute and utter honor and delight of emailing with Talia Hibbert. And she actually makes me wittier in email because she's so goddamn cute. And I feel like there's part of me that like has to raise the bar. Rise to the I have to rise to the occasion, Sabrina.
I love that. I love a person that inspires you to be a better, funnier version of yourself.
Yeah, right.
Which, is hard to do because you're already just like,
oh my God,
funny.
You're the best. You're the best. Okay, so we open up in this prologue and Chloe Brown is on a walk and she is forced to have an epiphany because she does almost get hit by a drunk driver.
Yeah, just on a Tuesday afternoon. And like, this is such a mood where she's like, this is the before. Like, that was the before, this is after.
Yeah.
And I have suddenly realized that my life is insanely boring. I'm boring. I haven't done all of the things that I've wanted to do. And my life flashed before my eyes. And it was boring.
Nothing happened.
I've just shut down. And boy, when I was reading this book, I was like, when's the last time I left my house? I was like, one, this wouldn't happen because I never leave my house. But two, if this did happen, what does the movie of my life look like for the last year? And I was like, interesting. I should probably leave my house more often. So I do have plans to go to the coffee shop this weekend.
Look at you. You're being inspired to rise to the occasion also.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So she goes home. She's obviously very scattered and overwhelmed and she's facing a lot of things at once. Plus like the adrenaline, period, the end. And she talks to her grandma Gigi. She ends up just like slowly melting into the floor and then laying down on the kitchen floor and being like, Chloe Brown, you are going to get a life. And we see like her mom walk in and be a little bit like over attentive. And she's like, and number one step, you gotta move out of the family home.
Yeah, so she lives with her family at the very beginning of the book, like in the prologue. Partially, for a lot of reasons, but for valid reasons too. But she's like, it's time to get out. So we open up into chapter 1, and it's 2 months later. 2 months ago, she moved out into a normal person flat, which all of her wealthy family is like, what are you doing? And she's
what
like,
is that?
What is this little place that you live?
At one point, her aunt is like, oh, that communal living.
This is just, so she comes from an extremely wealthy family. And so she is living there, and she has had some awkward experiences and encounters with the sexy fucking landlord. Nope. Superintendent.
Yeah.
Of
he
her
is
flats.
too hot. He's too tall. He's too goddamn gorgeously redheaded.
Redford Morgan is sexy pants. She has identified him heavily that way, and her reaction is, instead of interacting with him like he is just another human, the options are either dumbstruck because he's so attractive, or sarcastic,
A little
classist,
bit catty
asshole. Those are the options.
Yeah, and so there are like 7 things on her get a life list. The number 1 thing was move out, and then there was go camping, there was do something bad, there was basically go backpacking, a few other things.
Yeah,
and so she's like,
also
as
have
of today,
meaningless sex. Though that
yes,
was very important.
have meaningless
on the
sex.
list. Have
it is
meaningless.
yeah. But up until this point, she realizes that she has accomplished exactly 2 of them, and she probably needs to get going on the rest, because the one was move out, check mark, good job, Chloe Brown. But then the other one was do something bad. And she did it accidentally at first, but then she did it 2 more times.
Which is why
it's so ashamed.
Which is why it counts
it.
for her list, because in her flat at night, she can see into Redford Morgan's apartment, and she watches him paint shirtless, and she's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that oh my goodness, I can't believe
I spied on him. I'm a pervert. I'm a menace.
I'm a dirty pervert asshole who can't talk to him face to face, but I do stare at him half naked while he's painting." Which, like, my god, Chloe, I feel so seen by you right now.
I know.
But, like, hilariously, so in her head, though, when she was making her list, she's like, today, she could proudly claim that if she died, the papers would say something like this. At the grand old age of 31, Chloe moved out of her family home and rented a pokey little flat just like an ordinary person. She also wrote an impressive 7-point list detailing her plans to get a life. While she failed to fully complete said list before her death, its existence proves that she was in a better, less boring place. We salute you, Chloe Brown.
That's
Clearly,
right.
you listened to the universe.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
So this is just important because this comes up a lot in this book. Part of what has, I don't want to say held her back, but kind of made her kind of curl into herself and not branch out is she has chronic illness, right? So she has fibromyalgia, she has chronic pain. And she got diagnosed. It took forever to get diagnosed because everyone kept saying it was in her head and all of these things.
Hail as old as time.
Yeah, especially so. Every person I know with these illnesses, it takes years to get diagnosed.
Yeah.
Nobody fucking believes you. They tell you that it's all in your head, yada, yada, yada.
Especially if you're a woman.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And so it took forever. She lost all of her friends while she was getting it figured out because she couldn't function. She was in pain constantly and didn't know why and all of these things. And so she lost her friends. Her fiance at the time didn't believe her and fucking left her. Like, what a dick. And so now
what a scumbag.
Doesn't really know any, like, she doesn't really have friends. She doesn't have a social life. Like, she never got them back. She never made the effort to go out and do these things again after losing those people pre-diagnosis.
Yeah, and I mean, so it's like feeling rejected on the whole, but then she doesn't have anything to point to, and so it's just like it's almost like people don't like new Chloe. That's the message that she internalized before she got diagnosed. Is like Chloe is different. People do not like new Chloe. New Chloe cannot commit to plans just in case my body like craps out on me, she says. And so because of that, social interactions are exponentially scarier when they were already a little bit scary because she's fairly introverted.
Yeah.
So that's
she
one of the reasons.
Simultaneously, boy, this hit like a fucking freight train. But she was like, I am too much and not enough all at the same time. Woo, Chloe Brown. Yeah.
Yeah. But the one wonderful thing in her life is that her family, every single member of her family believed her from day one and has been there with her. And so she's got not only her grandma Gigi and her mother and her dad, but she's also got two sisters, Danny and Eve, and they're sort of like the triumvirate. And I love them to death. So next we go into Red's perspective. And what?
What word did you just use?
They're a triumvirate? Is that not right?
No, I just don't know that word.
Oh, okay. Isn't it like a trio? Like a unit of three?
It's a group or association of three.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so now we go into Redford Morgan's perspective, and he is fishing out a napkin full of broccoli and mushrooms from this old lady's toilet again. And he's been doing this super job for like 18 months now. And we sort of get hints as to like the fact that in the last 18 months, he has also sort of retired from society and disappeared completely.
He has a before and after as well.
Correct. Yeah. And so not only do we see him like doing this superintendent job and like he's so nice to this old lady and he keeps on being like, don't tell her that you'll come over for dinner. Don't do it. You have plans. You can't do it.
Holy fucking hell. He couldn't deal with crying women. If she dropped a single tear, he'd be here all night eating bowls of vegetable casserole with enthusiasm and sparkling compliments. Please don't cry. I get off in 10 minutes and I really fucking hate broccoli. Please don't cry. Please don't cry. And then she does cry. So he does end up agreeing to come back and shovel this heinous casserole that he keeps digging out of her plumbing because her grandchildren hate it so much they flush it. But then he does run into Chloe and her sisters, but specifically Chloe, and so their their bodies touch, and she feels like an electric shock, and he's like, damn, I think she's so sexy, but my God, what a classist bitch.
Well, and he's like, I'm so triggered by her posh accent and the fact that she looks at me like I am a piece of dirt, not even befitting the sole of her shoe. And she looks at me like I'm an animal because I didn't grow up from money. And all of these, I mean, he is like way not into Chloe Brown. They fucking hate each other, right? Actually, that's not true. He cannot stand her, and she reacts to the fact that she knows he cannot stand her.
And that she thinks he's too sexy. He's too sexy for her to function.
He's too sexy for life.
Fair. Redford Morgan is a lot of things, and one of those things is Golden Retriever catnip. He is the sweetest baby angel boy, and like, oh my God, must be protected at all costs.
Yes, all of them.
And adorable.
And he doesn't know because Chloe's also bad at joking. Chloe doesn't know how to put on an affect that communicates she is now joking.
At one point in the book, it is referred, like, he talks about it and he's like, she sounds even more serious than she usually does right now, which is how I know she's making a joke right now.
Yeah.
But, like, you have to know her to know that. And so, like, everything just makes her come across like the most obscene asshole.
I felt, okay, I have this trait. If I'm not super bubbly Melody, if I'm like kind of chill or, you know, anything that you never see on this podcast because I can't help but just like be this version of myself here, I have this issue where like I'll say something or like especially I'll talk to my kids and like, oh my God, the other day we were at fucking swim class and I was trying to get Valor out the door. and she was like, "Oh wait, Mom, I want to go look at these things." There were like a whole rack of like snuggles and goggles and swimsuits and a bunch of stuff, right? All overpriced and crazy because it's at the swim school.
Did you just say snuggles?
I said snoggles. Thank you very
Snoggles?
much. There was an O in there, not a U.
Where'd the N come from?
I don't know.
There's not, because I'm just curious, because there's, not a single N in
swimsuit?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so
Anyway.
sorry. A snimsuit?
A snimswoot, I think, is maybe
Yep,
what I'm
that's it.
going to go with
Snimswoot.
now.
Yep.
Anyway, so I was trying to get her out the door. I had already been like she had to pick out a dum-dum out of this big giant thing. And I kept on being like, I believe in you. I really think you can do it. Like, I think if you pick up like one more, you're going to find the one you want. And so the guy behind the counter is already looking at me sideways because I'm not speaking to my child the way that most mothers do, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes over to this rack and I was like, Valor, we got to go. And then she looked at me and she was like, I know. And I was like, babe, we participate in capitalism all the time. We don't need to right now. Let's go. And the guy looked at me and then looked at her and then looked at me and then like kind of started giggling, but he had no idea how to handle me at all.
That's a mood. Like, there's no happy medium with me. It's either like I'm a bubbly, like, ooh, no, or I am so fucking deadpan.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel you, Mel.
Yeah.
So he, by the way, has noticed the fact that she watches him paint.
Yeah. He noticed. He saw her and the last
aware
time.
of it, and he's like, I don't know why she'd be so interested in me. Like, there are bad reasons involving fetishes and class lines and the shit certain people consider degrading. But he didn't think those applied to Chloe Brown, not because she was above lusting after a man she looked down on, but because she didn't seem the type to lust at all. Lust couldn't exist without vulnerability. Chloe, beneath her pretty exterior, was about as vulnerable as a bloody shark. Like, goddamn, Red. Okay.
I mean, granted, also, he's only seen her at her, like, worst moments when they're not
That's exactly
interacting.
it.
He will, like, walk in when she's accidentally making an old man cry or pouring her coffee into an old lady's mailbox because she stole her mail.
Which, to be clear,
accident.
Chloe, all of these are unhinged reactions to things, okay?
They are. But once you put it in the perspective of chronic pain, I'm like, oh yeah. Like, at one point, what she calls a yummy mummy, which is hilarious to me. I know exactly who she's talking about the minute she called this woman a yummy mummy, is like, oh, are you wearing a wig? And she's like, no. But apparently because she sort of phrased it as a question because she was confused, the yummy mummy thought that gave her permission to, like, touch her hair and find out. And so Red didn't see any of that. All he saw was her telling off this lady and her snot-nosed kid and how dare you. And then he comforted the other lady. Ha 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 ha. So there's been a lot of that. Anyway, as we go forward, Chloe is going for another walk and she hears a meow from up in a tree and it is, it's tragical. And
she does have this full conversation with this cat in the tree about how you can probably almost certainly, almost definitely 100% get down from there on your own, but also you seem very pathetic and stuck up there, so I will
you're so
help
pathetic.
You. So she does climb up that tree.
And as she's climbing up the tree, she says to it, because she's like, come here. And it listens to her a little bit. And so it's in her lap. And she's like, can you actually understand me? Can you? 'Cause if you can. And you can talk back, I will keep your secret. And then from below her, she hears a deep voice go, I will too. She's like, oh no!
Which
Red
also,
just
like,
saw me being an idiot in front of a
also
cat.
giving this cat, like, a voice in her head, because the cat's like, the fire, because she's thinking about whether or not she's going to call the fire brigade. And in her head, she's like, the fire brigade? You wasteful cow. Don't you realize we are in an era of austerity? Would you take much-needed public services away from children trapped in bathrooms and old ladies who've left the iron on? For shame. This cat, like most of its species, seemed rather judgmental. Chloe,
I'm all about it.
You are this cat. You're
I'm
the one
all
who
about
just
it.
made that cat judgmental as fuck.
And then later on, Red will say that he doesn't much like cats because they seem kind of snooty and judgmental. And she's like, how dare you?
Well, my favorite is when she's talking to him about what he does on Sunday. He's like, okay, so he's down there. He's like, well, I can help you down if you're stuck. You just have to admit that you're stuck. And she's like, I'm not stuck. You probably have better things to do on a Sunday. Like drugs. And he's like, I'm sorry, what? And she's like, I mean, it's Sunday. I mean, it's
It's a day off.
Yeah, perfectly acceptable.
I do
day
drugs every day.
for recreational drug use. And he's like, do you take drugs on Sundays then? And she says, I take drugs every day. Legal drugs. Very legal drugs. Doctor's orders.
Oh my God, my favorite is that he says, you have to admit that you're stuck and then I'll come up. And then she says, fine, throw a tantrum.
But then at one point she's like, well, I don't really know. We don't know each other very well. Right. And he's like, well, I'm the sort of person who she says, I'm the sort of person who climbs trees to rescue cats. Clearly, I care deeply about animal welfare. Oh, you a vegetarian? Well, he had her there. Not yet. Not yet. I'm working on it. Ethical consumption had been easier at home where they had a cook. He grinned up at her. Right. You only eat veal on Sundays then? Certainly, she quipped, which is no worse than doing drugs on Sundays. Chloe, I don't do drugs on Sundays. There, he'd used her name. Now is the perfect time to follow suit and use his. The one everyone else called him. Not Redford or Mr. Morgan, but she felt so awkward about it that she couldn't figure out what to say. And in the end, after an uncomfortable pause, she simply blurted out, Red. And that was it. And then at one point he tells her, she says, let me secure the cat because she's about to jump from the tree into his, basically jump out of the tree. And he says, fuck the cat. It's playing me like a violin. Her gasp tasted of ice and pollution. How dare you? This cat is an angel. Look at it. And then she asks him if she could keep the cat. And she's like, can't you bend the rules for extenuating circumstances? And he says extenuating circumstances such as the fact that you're an extra special princess.
She's like, yes, obviously.
I knew you'd understand.
And so all of a sudden the facade sort of drops. He can tell that she's just she has been masking and masking and masking and now she can't anymore. Yeah. And so she sort of walks away from him with the cat in her jacket still. And he's like, I don't think it's appropriate for me to follow her, but I'm gonna circle back a little later. So he ends up knocking on her door, being like, I figure if she doesn't answer, I think she was injured in that tree and she's not admitting it. So if I knock and she doesn't answer, I'll just use my key to get in and make sure she's not sprawled on the floor somewhere.
Yeah, dead.
Yeah. But finally she answers the door. She says, Mr. Morgan, what are you here for? And he goes, I've heard you have a cat in this apartment. She's like, oh, I don't know why you would think that at all. And he comes in. She's standing right next to the cat. And he's like, there it is. She's like, what? What? Oh,
okay.
I don't know. Do you want to make some tea? I'll take some lavender tea. And then she just walks to her bathroom. He's like, did she just ask me to make her tea?
Mm-hmm.
Presumptuous?
Yeah, so he ends up finding out, so it's his after time, right? He has decided, so he's an artist. His backstory essentially is that he was this big fancy artist. He was dating this royal asshole named Pippa who was using him. But when they ended, there was a whole thing where he started, I don't even know how to condense this.
Well, basically, he had been trying for a really hard time in London, and he hadn't broken through until he met this lady, Pippa. And so they started dating romantically, and when everything happens and shit falls through, which I don't know if we should tell them now or later on, maybe we should tell them during the camping trip, what actually happens. But basically, when everything falls through, she tells him, I made you. You are nothing without me. And his imposter syndrome kicked in really hard. And he was like, yeah, I fucking think so. And between her pushing the exact right button and the overall exhaustion of just trying to exist in a world that didn't want him and only accepted him because he was on Pippa's arm, he just took everything out of all the art galleries and he just ghosted.
Yeah.
Didn't tell anyone he was leaving, nothing.
But he's decided that it's time to start kind of reaching back out. He's nervous about it because he's a different artist now. He paints different things, but he's ready to do it. And his first step is a new website. And how convenient!
Oh my God,
Chloe Brown is a web designer.
Well, so I love this too because currently she's so exhausted and before she climbed that tree, she was already sort of at her physical limit for the day. And when she exerts herself too much is usually when her fibromyalgia will flare up again. So she's on this couch. She's got her eyes are at half mast holding the cup of lavender tea that he so, wonderfully made for her while she was in the shower. And he is it's really obvious that she's exhausted, but I keep on wanting to come up with reasons to stay. And so he's asking her what she does. And she says that she's a web designer. And then he's like, oh yeah, I need a website for, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, oh, well, I think you might be able to help me, but we'll have to talk about it later because I'm just so exhausted. And he's like, nah, give me a hint though. She's like, well, I need to ride a motorbike for reasons. You have a motorbike. And so what if you were to take me for a ride and in exchange, I'll give you a free consultation on your website? And he's like, I can pay for it. And she's like, yeah, no, that's not the point. I need something from you that is not monetary. And he's like, okay, all right, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have to see each other again. Bum, bum, bum.
And it's wonderful. We also have the most adorable, all of the sister interactions in this book are fantastic. All of the Brown sisters are wonderful. This whole series, by the way, this is a reread, listener. Mel and I have already read this book. We've both read the entire series. This whole series, Chef's Kiss, A+. Go fucking read it if you haven't. If you're into contemporary romance, you can't lose with this series. So specifically, one of my favorite parts is they're coming up with a name for this cat. And Chloe's like, we'll name him Smudge. And Evie's like, oh, you should name him Cat, like Holly Golightly. And Chloe looks at her and says, don't tell me how to raise my children. His name is Smudge.
Also, they have decided that it is a boy because Danny picked it up, looked it in the face, and mystically said, it's a boy. Yeah. Turns out the cat is a girl. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Anatomy doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes over to his house and, okay, poor Red, all right? Because he wears onesies all the time as a superintendent. And just like that hot frosty boy.
Oh no, so I fucking knew the minute you said onesie instead of fucking, I can't even think of jumpsuit,
what
whatever.
What is it called?
Worksuit.
Oh, is it jumpsuit?
It's a specific, I can't think of it now because that's a fucking word. The minute you said onesie, I was like, my God, she's gonna bring up that fucking man, freshly born, birthed man-child baby. I knew it. I fucking knew it.
Well, Red is a fully grown man in every sense of the word, chronologically, anatomically, spiritually, theatrically, probably, all the ways, okay? And so he has been having dreams about Chloe Brown and, sexy her dreams. Ankles and stuff.
To the point of waking up covered in his own cum. He's having wet dreams over Chloe Brown.
He says he didn't really have wet dreams anymore, given the fact that he was a grown man. But anyway, so he decides that, after some work, he's been distracted all day. He's going to go and just, really casually, and it doesn't mean anything, rub one out to get over it, okay? And so he can't even commit to undressing himself. He just makes himself a penis window with his buttons.
And then he's, in the middle of masturbating, about to, and then he hears knock, knock. It's Chloe fucking Brown.
Oh, God.
Red froze. Asked God what he'd ever done to deserve this, then remembered his activities of approximately 60 seconds ago and realized the answer. So he goes and answers the door, and he He's in his head, he thinks, all of a sudden she was in his flat. How the fuck had that happened? And how the hell was he going to get her out again? He opened his mouth to say, please go away. Then remembered that he wasn't a rude prick and closed it.
And then she's like, Redford Morgan, I think I caught you. And he's like, what? What are you talking about? She's like, your hair is all mussed. And you're like, you look. And he's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. She knows in his head. And then she's like, were you napping on the job? I'm not judging. I love a good nap. And he's like, oh, I'm almost dying from relief. Anyway, so she's like, I thought I would pop by and give you that website consultation if you want. And he like looks around and he remembers like the different sitting contraptions she had in every room of her house, including the kitchen. And he's like, I don't suppose you'd be able to sit on like a really shitty wooden stool, huh? And she's like, not like comfortably. Like I could, for sure. I couldn't do it. And he's like, no, okay, if you don't mind, we'll go sit on my bed. Is that okay?
Well, yeah, he takes her to the scene of the crime.
How
fucking awkward. So but luckily he does give her a chair. Doesn't he give her like an actual chair? Like he has an armchair in his room or something like that. And they're sitting in his bedroom and he is explaining, he shows her some of his new art. She looks at it, thinks it's amazing, and he can see in her face that she thinks it's amazing.
And he can see, like, okay, so first of all, this is really harrowing for him because he has not shown a single person his art since his style has changed, since his, like, emotional journey changed his art. And so he's really, really nervous about him. And then when he sees, like, all of the emotions that he poured into this painting flash across her face as she looks at it, he's like, oh my God, okay, I think I might actually be able to do this. Like, this is realistic at this point.
He was a puppy and someone loving his art was a killer scratch behind the ears.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
So she accidentally admits that she, like, stalked him online. And she's like, I mean, obviously I needed, know
just
about
research.
You. Research. And she says, knowledge is power. And he says, I bet you were a massive teacher's pet at school. I bet you were an aimless slacker. I bet you always file your taxes on time. Who doesn't file their taxes on time? And that's when I went, oh, I'm a red.
Yeah.
How many times have I had to extend my taxes? Like,
oh my God, I am a Chloe. I am a Chloe hard.
I'm a Chloe now. But it used to be like, it'd be like
fair.
The day before taxes, the day of taxes, usually, and I'd be like,
you're filing an extension.
Time to file an extension. So then she says to him at one point, you're a very rude man. I'm rude? God almighty, that's rich coming from you. And she says, and what is that supposed to mean? And he says, sorry, I thought I was being obvious. It means you're rude as fuck.
You're rude as fuck, dude.
And then she's like, I'm not rude. I'm just awkward, like socially awkward, basically. And then I don't even really understand how this happens, but like they start like bantering and then she like shoves on his chest and he's sitting on the bed. And he grabs her wrist, and when he falls back, she comes with him, and now she's on top of him on the bed.
Everyone's dying. Most of all, top of the list is me. And so they end up like locking eyes, and then she ends up like getting up and off of him and stuff. And he says like, I don't think I'm going to be able to focus on this website thing right now. And the look of disappointment on her face when she's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go. He's like, what I usually do when I feel like this is go for a ride. You want to go? She's like, oh, boy.
So he starts second guessing himself immediately, though, because he has put her in the same group of people as his ex-girlfriend, Pippa. Which is, like, he's basically scum. He's poor scum who, like, gross motorbikes, gross this, gross that. And so he's like, man, she's not even gonna like, this is gonna be a whole thing. And so, but it's fine. And he's like, okay, let's go. So they get on the bike. she has to take off her glasses, which was bonkers to me. So like as somebody who rides motorcycles, the thought of being somebody's passenger and not having my glasses on gives me hives.
Okay.
Never in a million years. But she's nervous about it, but she goes for it. She trusts him. And when he reaches back and grabs her hands and scoots her forward to wrap her arms around him.
Oh my God, it was so cute. It says, Chloe had seen teenage romance movies. She knew exactly how to act on a hot man's motorbike. Like, she knew exactly what to do.
There's also this point where she's like, she wasn't sure if she was intimidated or aroused. She checked in with her nether regions and discovered that she was both. Righto, then.
Righto.
Righto. God, Talia Hibbert's voice is just such perfection and so funny. So she has a lot of feelings while they're riding bikes, and she mostly is like exhilarated.
Whoops. She whoops really hard, and he like loves that, but also doesn't know how to take it, because when Pippa rode his bike for the first time, she like berated him afterwards. And when she would do things like that, he thought he was just like bantering with a feisty girlfriend or whatever, not realizing that like she was just being verbally abusive. Like at some point she said the fact that he likes this makes him an idiot goat with shit for brains or something British and dumb. And then afterwards she would like pose on his bike for Instagram and then like immediately go somewhere in only a car service. Mm-hmm. So he's getting off of this thing thinking like, I heard the whoop and it seems like she liked it, but he's readying himself for the onslaught that Chloe is going to give him.
But don't worry, the onslaught's a hug. She like flies at him and hugs him, and she's like, that was amazing, that was fantastic, I am exhilarated. And then she's so excited and she tells him about her list. And she's like, I'm not telling you everything that's on the list, but riding a motorbike was one of them. And so maybe you can help me with some of the other things on the list. I can't tell you.
And in return, I will make your website for free. Mm-hmm. And once again, he's like, I'm not poor. I can afford website. And she's like, no. Because Chloe's whole thing is there's safety in transactional relationships. It's one thing for you to ask somebody for a favor and have them do it for you because they like you. Because then if they beg off or they disappear like everyone else has, that is a personal slight. But if it's just like a transactional thing and they're like, don't have time on my schedule, she doesn't have to take that personally. Mm-hmm. So she's like, trust me, this is a super fair trade.
Wow, Chloe, yeah, there was a lot of times where I was like, damn, Chloe, I need you to like fucking turn the camera off in my brain,
I know.
Okay? Like,
I know. Same here.
So we have a scene, just because this is important. He goes to his friend Vic's house. Vic is the landlord that he's doing the superintendent stuff for. And he is in the attic, and he is painting. And he is looking out this window. And this is kind of a turning point for him, where he's like, my art is different now, but that's okay. It is darker. It's grungier.
It's more vibrant.
Mm-hmm. And that's okay. This is my new style. Mm-hmm. And he just goes for it. He decides that it's time. It's time for me to accept this about myself. So he does do the thing. And then like, it's a super touching moment.
Yeah, especially if people like Chloe Brown really like it. And then this is the first time he's painting in front of Vic, who's been like a best friend for years. Mm-hmm. And Vic comes to his side and he like claps him on the back and he's like, I'm really proud of you. Like, this is incredible. And I really liked it because he says that his style before, he would have looked out this window and, taken out the project buildings that were in the landscape, and he would have made it into something more palatable for the overall audience.
Why should he create a more palatable version of reality? Why should he paint for anyone but himself? He'd grown up in flats like those. His home, one monstrous headstone among a row of 8. Looking at them now, he felt something. It wasn't clean or simple, but it was powerful and it was worth sharing.
Yeah.
I just got chills.
I know, same. He's just on this path of self-acceptance that is really, really gorgeous. So then he goes over to her house and...
Excuse the flip-flop fuck out of me, okay. Melody Carlisle. Yeah. We have the cutest email banter back and forth.
Oh my God, the epistolary section of this book.
Yes, they're emailing back and forth, and he keeps giving her shit because she's being super duper formal, and she keeps giving him shit because he's being super duper informal and treating it just like two friends writing letters. And he's like, this is literally an electronic letter, Chloe Brown. Dear Chloe Brown, yours sincerely.
And then she'll write back, yours allegedly or supposedly or something like that.
Well, and then at one point he's like, so she ends up telling him a little bit about the list. And he's like, well, like, do you even want to do the things on that list? You don't even sound that excited about these things. And she's like, the list is not up for debate. It's been immortalized and I am committed. And also because I'm right and you're wrong. I trust you understand. And then at one point, they start talking. She gives him shit about being a redhead, a ginger who has no soul. And he's like, I mean, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, they, like, joke back and forth. And then at one point, she admits that she thinks he's attractive or that he's an attractive person. I'm so sorry. She states that he's passable.
Yes.
And he says, good to know I look passable for a soulless ginger and everything. And like this back, it's just, oh my God.
Well, and so then she comes back with, to be clear, you are objectively attractive and I was a little bit mesmerized by your hair. And so he'll say things like, it's really good to know when a gal's mesmerized by my hair. And I wasn't fishing for compliments, but I might keep on doing it because you really snap that bait right up. And it's just like so cute. And then he starts calling her Button, because all of her clothes have buttons on them.
Cardigan.
And so she comes back and she's like, if you keep on calling me Button, I will sew a button to your tongue. And then he's like, I would love to see how you would do that. Like, is it chloroform? It's a whack over the head. How are you going to hold me down? And then she says, well, come over tomorrow and I will attack or show you the list. We will see. Like, it's so cute.
Yeah, so she ends up not sleeping well. She's kind of out of it, and she essentially, time is meaningless, as it is for all of us. And he knocks on the door, and she is not prepared for him to show up at all. She's in a lemur onesie.
This poor woman
is just so exhausted and disheveled. Her apartment, her flat's a wreck, and he's super calm. He's super collected. And she says to him, now that we've both caught each other napping, and he's like,
yep, totally napping. Both of us were absolutely napping.
Yep, napping. And then he's like, okay, so like, how's the button thing happening? And she says, upon reflection, I decided that holding you down would be beyond my physical capabilities, so we'll be discussing the list.
And then he's like, I don't know if that's true, Chloe, darling. Like, you could maybe figure out a way to hold me down.
He says, you're shorter than me, but you're pretty tough. And she's like, so a little pleased smile pops up on her face. Oh, man, it's so cute. So they end up discussing the list. She has created a version of the list that doesn't have
a public
things.
List.
Yes, exactly.
Because she wants him to help her. She put on motorbike so that she could cross it off, for encouragement. And then the other two are go camping. No, the other one is go camping.
No, it's two of them. So go out for drinks is one of them, ma'am, which leads to the freaking that one scene.
Golly, wow.
So she's left off things like do something bad and meaningless sex, although she feels like she needs to admit to him to do something bad. And it's fucking hilarious because every time she sees him, she's like, oh my God, I have to tell him, but like I can't tell. And he knows. Every time she starts to bring it up, he's like, oh man, she's gonna bring up the fact that she watches me at night.
And like he doesn't want to talk about it yet because he's enjoying spending time with her so much. And the moment that she reveals herself to be a classist using pig of a person, just like Pippa, like, he's going to have to not hang out with her anymore. And he doesn't want that to happen. So he keeps on, like, diverting the conversation anytime it comes up. But, like, after their day-long email exchanges, she says, like, I have to tell him because I think we might actually be friends. You know, and I can't.
Which brings up a really important question, Mel. Are you admitting to a brand new friend that you've watched them paint half naked through your window?
I don't know.
I haven't figured out, because I was thinking about that every time it came up for her. I was like, am I admitting this at the beginning of this friendship? Is it less awkward to admit it now? Or do I wait until they realize that I'm just a fucking socially awkward weirdo?
Right? Or do you just never? Is that the before times?
Do I just never bring it up? Is this a before and after too? Like, can we just forget all of my sins?
Well, I also don't know that it's a sin.
I don't think it's a problem. That's part of my thing. Is like,
he says it later on. I'm literally painting in front of a window in the dark with my lights on. I obviously don't care if people see me painting.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, I can understand her perspective as well. But like, I think I don't know. Maybe this is just me being an asshole. But like, I do think that there are things that like happen before you actually know a person that make interactions a little bit different. Does that make sense?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I think I'm wrong. I don't know.
I'm just intrigued. No judgment.
I know. Here, okay, that's not what I mean. What I mean is the thing a burden? Right? Like, is this my burden that I need to just sit with and do better?
I agree.
Or is this something that I should make them feel weird about if they don't think it's weird?
Is this something that they need to, like, is this going to...
Is it better for them to know, or will it hurt them to know?
Yes, okay. Yeah, I can understand.
Like, there is that, especially because technically there was no harm done.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Are you telling
Is this
them
something
for
that I'm
you?
unloading on them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you telling them for you, or are you telling them for them?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, she ends up telling him, he's like, well, where do you want to go drinking? We can go this weekend. And she's like, I'll leave all decisions up to you. Just, you know, make it edgy. And he says, edgy. Aye, Captain Button. And he's like writing down notes. And then he's like, okay.
She's like, oh my God, he's being so organized about this.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
she loves that organization.
That's pretty hot.
So he brings it up very well in the sense that he's like, so I have noticed that you have some limitations, and that's okay. I just need to know, especially if we're going to be drinking
and camping
camping and like doing all of these things. I need some idea of what to expect. Like, what do I do in certain situations if something happens?
Right.
She's basically like, I can handle it. Like, I know my limitations and things like that. And meanwhile, he's like, can you? I literally saw you climbing a tree, which was clearly not the smartest idea.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yes, it's fine. And so she explains everything to him. And he's like, okay, we're on. This is when she ends up telling him. Well, yeah, but this is when she shares her past. So she tells him all about the friend stuff, her ex-fiance, and like all of these things, how she got / like where these illnesses, like her awareness of the illnesses, and basically her whole history regarding all of this.
Yeah. Including her like friends ditching her, including her fiance not believing her. And he is trying so hard to rein in his anger because he doesn't want it to seem like he's angry with her or what she's telling him, because he's really angry with the shit stains that did all of this to her and sort of, you know, removed themselves from her life.
Yeah. And she tells him, she says, I feel like a part of me hasn't caught up with the fact that I've learned how to manage my symptoms. Like, I'm still afraid of myself. And that's what the list is for, to help me get my bravery back. And he says, if this list is supposed to make you braver, you're gonna be fucking Wonder Woman by the time we're done. Aw. And then he says, also, just to make it really clear, your fiance was a fucking donkey cock for leaving you.
Right. Absolutely. And she's like, I know, I really feel bad for the person who's fucking him right now.
Yeah. And then they start like flirting a little bit. And they're getting a little
she's getting overheated in this lemur thing, which is also a symptom of fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, you should take that off. And she's like, what?
Very importantly, while Chloe is like, what do I do right now? Gigi appeared helpfully on her shoulder and said,
yes.
Don't mumble, darling. Nice big voice. Repeat after me. I want to ride you like a stallion. Danny appeared on Chloe's other shoulder and drawled, don't forget to say please. Mm-hmm. A tiny phantom Eve joined the fray and said, don't listen to those two. Actions speak louder than words. Jump him. So she's like, what do I do? And then she saw the precise moment that he realized she was a breathless, horny little demon with a ridiculous crush on him.
And so he leans in and he like kisses right under her ear. And he says, Chloe, I want to kiss you. And then there's this pause. And then she goes, stop. And he immediately backs up, and she's expecting to see the look that she would see on her ex-fiance's face when she would tell him, like, I'm not in the mood, I'm in horrendous pain, I don't want to have sex, and your dick's not going to fix it.
Yeah.
But instead, it's just like everything else, he's just like calm and understanding and like, okay, we will absolutely stop here. And then she's like, okay, well, I think that's it for tonight. I'm going to now show you out. And he's like, are you sure you don't want to talk about, well, nope, red, no, I don't think so. All right, here we go. We're going out the door. And he's like, really, though, we could talk about the fact. And she's like, I am a poor, disabled woman, and I cannot be bothered with any more of this.
Yeah. And then she just like shoves him out of the door. Also, one of my favorite things is this quote. What did it mean when a man you made deals with and sent slightly flirtatious emails to licked your ear and held your hand? What did it mean?
What did it mean?
I felt very seen as like, we know what that means, but also like we can't accept what that means.
Well, and I can't guarantee it for darn sure, you know.
God, it's so fucking true too.
This is where we're going to leave you, listener. We'll be here tomorrow with part 2. Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Melody Carlisle and Sabrina Bradley. Editing is done by me, Melody Carlisle. Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fonts, and our art is by the ultra-talented author Kate Pryor. If you like our show, remember to follow us on your favorite podcast app, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. That one small action is a huge way to help the show. If you want to get in touch with us for advertising inquiries or anything else, you can email us at heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, on TikTok at Heaving_Bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. See you tomorrow.